number 9. A book or series that everyone seems to love but you can't help but hate. I'm gonna say Throne of Glass and Harry Potter, but I don't actually hate them. I just am very critical of them. And, if anyone has listened to my 30-minute diatribe about School for Good and Evil, that's pretty much how I feel about Throne of Glass and Harry Potter, but I could talk about them for a lot longer than 30 minutes. But I know that not everyone, but a lot of people love Throne of Glass, and almost everyone loves Harry Potter. And so I know I'm in the minority, especially for Harry Potter. But a book that I actually, legitimately hate, but not everyone loves, but a lot of people love, but I hate it, is Enclave by Anna Guira, because the main character is a slut-shaming, victim-blaming, psychotic, and I mean, there's gotta be, some kind of disconnect in her brain, because I don't understand how anybody could make the decisions that she makes in the way that she makes them, affecting the people that they affect, and not have any kind of qualms or second thoughts or really any kind of consideration at all. This girl is, the worst person I've ever met. I don't, fictionally speaking. She's basically a villain. I would expect a villain to behave the way she does in the second half of the book, and I can't stand her, and I hate this book. And then Anna Guira tries to defend the actions of her female lead by saying that, well, that character and the guy that she's shacking up with, who's also actually is a villain in the book, and the main character knows he's a villain, he's a rapist and murderer, and she knows this and doesn't care. And also, technically, he's a pedophile because he's, 17 years old, and he's going after, 11-year-olds, which is disgusting. And the main character knows this and doesn't care. The author tried to defend this by saying,
well, they grew up in a world that was very different from ours, and so their cultural mores and morality is different. It's no, bitch, they're evil.
Okay, sorry, but they're evil. Oh my god, I'm actually going to do a thing about this soon. I need to review this book, and I haven't done it, and I've been meaning to do it for 6 years. And I still haven't done it, because every time I do, I get mad. And I used to, I would start, and then I'd start cussing, and then I'd stop, and it's you know what, screw it, I'm just going to do it. But not right now. Question number 10. A book or series you love, but everyone else seems to hate. Well, I know a lot of people really don't like the Shatter Me series, and I know a lot of people either didn't like the style of the first book, didn't like the fact that they know who the end game was based on, they knew who it was in the third book, but they hadn't read the second and third book yet, and they'd only seen the end game love interest the way he is in the first book or the first half of the second book, or didn't like the way the original love interest who gets booted out acts, how his character changes between the second and the third book. So I understand that a lot of people have various reasons for not liking this book, and I also know that a lot of people love this book, and I really love this book, and I don't have any problems with any of those things that I just mentioned for various reasons, but I'm not going to talk about them right now. And then also Twilight. And the reason I love Twilight, and a lot of people hate Twilight, I know there's a lot of flaws in Twilight, but there are a lot of things in Twilight that I really admire, and I'm glad that, they happened. And I think that a lot of the books that came out after Twilight, and I don't mean right after, I mean any YA book in the speculative fiction category that came out after Twilight owes a lot to what Twilight and its success did to the marketing, to the market for teen fiction. Question number 11. A book or series you will always love. I'm going to say The Girl Who Circumnavigated Fairyland and A Ship of Her Own Making by Catherine M. Valenti and its subsequent books. However, here's the thing. I haven't read the last book yet. And I'm going to assume, because I have loved everything of hers that I've read, and I've read multiple books of hers, that she's not going to screw this up. I have read essays by this author about the thing that I'm worried is going to happen, which is that the main character, whose heart and soul is totally in love with Fairyland, is going to end up going home and to the mundane world and be okay with that. But the author has written essays that I've read about this and how she thinks that when that happens, that's actually really stupid. So I'm trusting her not to, jerk me along and screw with me in the last book. But the last book is called The Girl Who Raced Fairyland All the Way Home. So I'm really, really worried. I don't know how this is going to go. Especially because the girl is fated to have a child with a Fairyland character. And so I don't know, and they're one of my OTPs and I'm scared. Question number 12. An upcoming release you wish you could have right now. I'm going to say Wicked Like a Wildfire by Lena Popovic, because that lady is a maze bunnies, and I have a professional squish on her. And I've actually talked to her a few times online, and she's just really cool. And when I heard she was going to be writing a book, I got super excited. And then I've been waiting to read this book for like 3 years. And I'm so excited for it. And it comes out, I believe, in July. And I'm super excited. And then also Beasts Made of Night by Tochi Onyebuchi, which is based on Nigerian mythology, which is why I'm excited, because you don't see a lot of YA fantasy based on African mythos of any kind. And I'm really excited for this because I'm multiracial and I would like to see something that is part of like my background in some way. And I'm just really excited, and I'm really excited for what this means for YA in general if this book takes off, because I can't wait for this book. And it comes out in October! Oh, I don't know how I'm gonna wait that long. Question number 13.
'Cause baby, now we got bad blood. You know we used to be mad love. So take a look what you've done. 'Cause baby, now we got bad blood. Hey, now we got drama.
A character you once loved but grew to hate. Deuce from Enclave, because she's a bitch, and I want her to die. She's a horrible person. She's supposed to be the heroine. She's actually evil. Like, legitimately freaking evil. Oh my god. I don't understand how anyone, even at 15, could think that a guy who is a rapist and murderer who rapes 12-year-olds is a legitimate love interest for you. I don't understand this at all. I hate Deuce. She's a horrible person, and not just because of the fact that she's got a crush on this guy. She does other things, and I'm just like, I want to stab you. But they all revolve around this guy. And the fact that he rapes people and his victims, and I can't. And then also Magnus Bane. I have a whole big long thing about Magnus Bane and how I feel about the way he acted in City of Lost Souls. And yeah, I realize that like, you know, Alec fucked up, but that's not even the point. Like I have a very like black and white view of things, and yeah, people are gonna be like, well, there are shades of gray. It's like actually there's not, because like, it's really, like, people talk about shades of gray, like, you know, doing the wrong thing but for the right reason. It's like, okay, but yeah, depending on the reason, then that's either black or white. It's not gray. Like, I'm not one of those people that's like, if it's wrong, and that's the end. I'm like, okay, let me hear the story. Okay, now that's wrong. Okay, no, that's right. And it's not like, oh, well, you know, this is a gray area. No, it's either wrong or it's right. But what's wrong and right for me, like, what I think is wrong and right, morality-wise, is probably a little different from what a lot of people think. Question number 14.
Did you have to do this? I was thinking that you could be trusted. Did you have to ruin what was shining? Now it's all rusted. Did you have to hit?
An author you haven't forgiven for the things they did to your favorite characters or books. Oh my gosh. J.K. Rowling, for all the things that she's done to Harry Potter since book 2. Book 1 and 2, I loved them very much. Book 3, I was starting to see the cracks. Not when I first read it, but I read the first 4 books, like, back to back, like, in a month when book 4 came out. I was only, like, 11, okay? But by the time book 7 came out, I had realized that there was a lot of flaws in the books in ways that I was not okay with. Like, not even, like, simple, honest mistakes, like anyone could make them. There were things that, like, when I realized that they were in the books, I always thought to myself, oh my gosh, J.K. Rowling, like, how could you ever think this was okay? And it never gets fixed. And then you know, and then the thing with Ilvermorny, and the thing with the Native American wizards, and you know, and the white supremacy, I should say British supremacy, the white British supremacy that's inherent in the Harry Potter universe, and like the accidental racism she's got going on, and the abusive nature of Hermione, and there's so much in the books, and I'm like, I wish you hadn't done a lot of this stuff. And then also Veronica Roth, because of Insurgent, the thing, like, she made 4 and Triss super immature in Insurgent, but I don't hate that as much as I hate what happened in Harry Potter. And then the people who write the episodes for fucking Arrow, ow, I just punched my desk, ouch, because I saw season 3? I think it's season 3 of Arrow, the finale, with Ra's al Ghul, and that whole thing, and Oliver becoming the new heir to the demon, and having to marry Nyssa, and having to, like, you know, kill everybody in Star City, and just, oh my god, the way that everybody was acting, except Ray and Thea, the way everyone else was acting, oh, and then Nyssa, okay, so, like, in the main group, so, like, Felicity, Laurel, Diggle, Lila, the way they were behaving during this whole thing, I wanted to stab all of them in the face. Oh my god. Oh my god. And then, like, Felicity and Laurel got over it, like, really quick, and then, like, the writers made Diggle into, like, suddenly he was an idiot. And I'm like, Diggle, you are, like, one of the greatest characters on this show. I actually like you more than Oliver. What the hell is going on? It's like, and the writers do this to me. Like, things will happen, and I'm like, oh, I really like where this is going, and then something else will happen. I'm like, what the fuck? Ugh. And I realize it's not a book. I realize Arrow is not a book. It's a TV show. But I just, they said writers, authors, yeah, dibba. Question number 15.
I can feel the air as it begins. My condition is.
The book that was far too predictable. Squire by Tamara Pierce. Who's the bad guy? Oh, that one blonde kid who's a total asshole. Who's the one giving the girl presents? Oh, is it Alana? Yes, it is. I was actually hoping the entire book that it was Jonathan who'd been giving Kelladry all those presents, like, since the first book. I thought that would be a great way to make up for his, like, necessary political douchebaggery, and instead it was Alana, and I'm like, I don't see Alana ever doing that. First of all, I thought it was totally out of character, although maybe it wasn't. I mean, like, I guess you could look at it both ways. Either it's, like, completely in character, or it's totally out of character. But I thought, like, Jonathan would have the sense to at least show some kind of quiet support for Kelladry in some way, to realize that, like, you know, he needed, I don't know, I feel like Jonathan is, like, he was stupid, he was smart in the first two Lioness books, and then he got stupid after he started sleeping with Alana, and then he got smart again in the Immortals Quartet, and then he got stupid again, and I don't know how that happened. Question number 16.
Nothing lasts forever. But this is getting good now. It's so.
A book or series that you wish could have gone on forever. The Others by Anne Bishop, because I just read the latest one, specifically with the Lakeside Courtyard arc. Because I just read the latest one, Etched in Bone, like less than a month ago, because it came out in March, and I finally read it near the end of April. And it was supposed to be the last book in the arc, and I'm like, you know, this doesn't feel like a last book. I feel like we need more here. There's, like, a lot of stuff that felt unfinished. And then Black Jewels, because it's awesome! You know, I could always have more Black Jewels. Always, always, always. And then I would really like to see a sequel, or 2, or 5, or 10, or 15, for Castle Hangnail by Ursula Vernon, which is, like, the cutest book about wicked witches, and, you know, freakish mad scientist castles, and hunchback majordomo Igor dudes. It's like, oh, it's such a fun book. I should do a review for it, for a podcast review. I've actually already done a Tumblr review, I think. And if I think I already put it on my Tumblr, and if I did, I'll link it down below. Question number 17. One of your favorite books where they got the girl. I gotta say the Fairyland books, because one of my favorite pairings with, like, no kind of freaky hang-ups, you know, no dickbag boyfriend maneuvers, no love triangles, no stupid anything, lots of great communication, you know, respect for boundaries, consent is a thing, blah, blah, blah. You know, that relationship that is, like, the epitome of all of those things, probably because they're both 12, is Saturday and September in the Fairyland books by Catherine M. Valenti. The first one in the series is the girl who circumnavigated Fairyland in a ship of her own making. And in that book, September, the main character, meets this Marid, which is a water genie, basically, named Saturday, and the two of them, like, they don't fall in love, like, right away, but it's very obvious that, like, as they go along, the two of them are really, really gonna be, like, super tight, and they're best friends. And they're best friends in the second book, but you realize in the second book that Saturday's in love with September, and then in the third book you realize September's in love with Saturday, and it's really cute. And I hope they don't get broken up in the fifth book. I'm gonna be super mad. Anyway, question number 18. A book that completely shocked you. Going back to Catherine M. Valenti real quick, gotta say, The Girl Who Fell Beneath Fairyland and Led the Rebels There, which is book 2 in the series, but it actually has nothing to do with the main character, although it does have something to do with the plot. And it harks back to the first book. So in the first book, the villain is this 12-year-old girl that they call the Marquis, and you find out, this is a spoiler, just to warn you, you find out that the Marquis is actually this queen that was around before the Marquis showed up. And so what ended up happening was this girl named Maud from our world went to Fairyland, became the queen, they renamed her something else, And she ended up getting married, and she got pregnant with a baby. And then when she was like 8 months pregnant, she suddenly got snapped back to the human world, and she was 12 again, and no baby. And she didn't know what to do, and so she did everything in her power to get back to Fairyland, and it took her like a year, and she finally made it back, but like all this time had passed, and she couldn't get her old life back. And she was super mad, and kind of probably went a little crazy, and so she became the Marquess. A lot of people don't realize that the Queen and the Marquess are the same person, but you find this out when September confronts her, and she's like, "Why are you so mean?" And the Marquess is like, "Let me tell you some shit." And so you find out that she lost this baby, and you don't know what happened to her baby. You find out in the second book, because in the second book, there's this person, who it is not relevant, who is trying to take over Fairyland Below, which is its own separate underworldy type realm. And apparently there's this character called the Sleeping Prince, who's actually supposed to be the king of Fairyland Below, and so but he's asleep. And of course, in fairy tales, when somebody's asleep, what do? You have to wake him up with a kiss. True love's kiss. So they get the Marquess's shadow, actually, because the Marquess is asleep in an enchanted sleep, so it's kind of like an interesting circle. They get the Marquess's shadow, and they go to track down the Sleeping Prince, and it turns out it's her baby. Except he's not a baby anymore, because he's been growing up while she's been the Marquess, because she's been immortal this whole time that she's been the Marquess, and she's still 12, even though she's been there like 10 years. And so the Sleeping Prince is her 10-year-old son, and it's like this super complicated thing, but I was like, holy shit, because it was this super heartbreaking thing. Like, how do you deal with those kinds of emotions when you're 12 years old? Like, you know that is your child, but you're 12, and also he's your age. Like, that is so weird. I was totally stunned by this plot twist. I had no idea what to make of it. I didn't know how it was going to work out. I still don't know how it's going to work out, because the third book, this is near the end of the second book, and the third book, you don't see any of these characters except September and Saturday, and they're in a completely different location. They're in Fairyland above, technically, because they're on the Fairyland moon, which has air, and so you don't know how that worked out. But so what ended up happening was the Marquess's shadow kissed the Sleeping Prince awake. He woke up. They had to and the Marquess's shadow was like, "I'm not your mom. I'm just your shadow." And then they had to fight like this big epic battle. But then the Marquess shadow was like, "All right, let's go get your real mom." And so it's implied that the Sleeping Prince is going to kiss the real Marquess awake, and like that's going to be how they keep her from getting sent back to her abusive dad in the mundane world. I have no idea. We're not there yet. But I was like totally stunned by the revelation of the identity of the Sleeping Prince.